Okay. As you're joining, please introduce yourself with your name, your position, and if you're comfortable, your organization. I'm going to pass it over to one of our presenters today, John, who's going to walk us through a mindful moment to just see how you're joining the space today.
Thank you so much, Destiny. Appreciate that. My name is John Fuentes, Associate Director with Bay Area Community Resources. Feel honored to be able to share space with you today at 1:03 p.m. I want us to take a moment. Some of us are transitioning from another meeting, right? Another training, maybe stuck in traffic. So, in lieu of our emerging and promising practices, we want to put your feet on the ground. If you have your camera on and we can see you, is amazing. At this point, if you want to shut it off for 1 minute, that's great. We want you to take a minute and let's do some intentional breathing. In through our nose for 7 seconds, hold for 5, and then we'll let out for 7 seconds. And as we do that, want to think about the intent for being in this session today, right? As we think about summer game plan, right? What we plan on doing this summer and how we're showing up today. And I see some folks have already put, I'm showing up as an explorer. How are you showing up? So let's first start with the deep breath in for 7 seconds, holding for 5, and then releasing out of your mouth for 7 seconds. And as you continue that intentional breathing, let's think about how are we showing up today? Are we showing up as an explorer, vacationer, sophisticated, kind of have an idea what we plan on taking and doing this summer? You can put it in the chat box if you haven't done so already. Take another deep breath in, and then I'll pass it back to Destiny.
All right, that's awesome. Thanks, John. Really appreciate a moment to just check in with myself, be mindful as we all join the space. So happy you're all here. I know we have a mix of explorers. Some folks are tired, and that's real. So I'm extra grateful that you're here today. So moving on, let me introduce myself. I'm Destiny L or Destiny Lopez. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the program manager with Partnership for Children and Youth. I am leading our summer game plan series. So if you've been in any of the previous sessions, you've seen me before, and I'm so happy to see you again. During today's session, we'll be focusing on the recruitment and retention of staff in our summer learning program. So we have a lot of information we're going to cover and really excited to get started. Moving on. All right. Again, I want to thank you all for being here and just taking the time to be present and focus on our summer learning programs and how we can be really intentional with recruiting and retaining staff. Thank you for all of the amazing work you do every day on behalf of children, youth, and families. I'm excited to see a wide range of folks. I always love reading through the chat and seeing where folks are joining us from and the different roles. It really takes a team effort to provide quality summer learning programming. And if you've attended previous sessions, thanks for being a part of the entire journey. In each session, we've started by sharing what we believe about the power of summer learning. We've known for a long time that summer is an important time for learning and development. And there's been huge unequal access to high quality summer programs, particularly for the students most harmed by structural, economic, and racial inequities. This has only been exacerbated during the pandemic, and we're still navigating how to provide access for folks to quality summer learning programs. And over the last 2 decades, PCY, along with some partners and champions, we've come to understand that what helps us get the outcomes we want for quality programming is to move from remedial and punitive summer learning programs to those that feel like camp. They're fun. When I think of summer, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to have a mix of academics and enrichment and lots of opportunities for choice for the folks that we're serving. The summer game plan series and the resources that we share with you all are based on the research. They're based on the practical experiences of educators and leaders and sharing best strategies. So thank you for joining us today. We're going to have a great conversation with folks from Bay Area Community Resources. And if you've been joining the previous sessions, you know that our summer game plan series started in 2021. Feels like so long ago already. During that time, we have served over 1,100 educators from nearly 800 unique organizations and 50 different field practitioners as speakers. Last year, we turned 7 of those sessions into short 3, 5, and 10-minute videos. And these have some gems and best practices and highlights from our sessions. We'll be putting a link in the chat shortly where you can explore some of those videos. Moving on. Okay, so your engagement, I'm already loving it. Seeing everything in the chat is really going to contribute to our success during our time together and make it have community and lots of knowledge sharing. So we invite you to continue to engage in the chat, send your comments, your reactions, your questions. We'll be really intentional of recording your questions as they're coming in, and we're definitely going to make time to answer those questions a little later in our session today. You can also use the reactions feature such as clapping or a heart if something resonates with you. And for any immediate needs, you can raise your hand and we'll call on you to unmute. I'm joined by my colleague Tamara, who's going to help with logistical support, and we'll be keeping an eye on the chat for any questions that come in. Your participation is greatly appreciated. Thank you for being here. We're going to move on. I'd like to introduce our experts from the BACR, or Bay Area Community Resources, and I'll let you all introduce yourselves.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marisa Ramirez. I am up here in the North Bay, East Bay, what we call as an expanded learning industry at BACR. My role is a co-industry director.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mariana Quintanilla. I'm a co-industry director with Marisa for Expander Learning. I'll also being director for our Healthy Communities industry, which is Community School Initiative. And I'm showing here today as Explorer, very excited to know more about all the participants in this program. And I'm calling and joining this space from San Francisco.
And hello, everyone. Good afternoon once again. I'm John Fuentes. I am the mindfulness person. I'm just kidding, but I love mindfulness. I am the associate director with the expanded learning industry of Bay Area Community Resources, specifically in the East Bay, working primarily in Oakland and West Contra Costa. We can go to the
Next slide.
And we'll do the agenda.
Okay, so what we're hoping to accomplish here, thank you again for the space. We're excited to have this opportunity. We do have a couple items that we're excited to share with you. A little bit of context. I think one of the uniqueness about the work that we do in expanded learning is that we do the work across 10 different school districts. And within those school districts, as you all know, they all have their kind of different dynamics of how summer program looks like, and we'll be talking about that throughout the session as well. We will walk you through some of our best practices and emerging best practices as well around recruitment and retention, professional development, and program design. We're excited to also share our summer youth workers high school pipeline, and we will give you some opportunities for Q&A at the end. Next slide.
Okay, so with that being said, I want to mention these 3 pillars that we bring to you with love and caring, right? At BACR, we try to be really intentional about what we do. We're very rooted in the communities we serve. So the pillar of need is the first one, right? What is the need in the communities we're going to serve? Differentiating from school to school, as Marisa said, 10 school districts, 130 programs, and over 15,000 students a day. So the needs are so different, right? And we try to accommodate to those needs. Once we know your program designs, once you know what is it you have to do, or what you create your vision, what do you want to create for your students, for your families, what do you want to create for your staff. We don't take care of our staff cannot take care of the students, right? So doing an inventory of staffing needs is extremely important. This comes from the number of staff you need, depending on your program design, to the capacities and the competencies that your staff should bring with, and what is the support that you need to give them. And looking at summer as the starting of the school year. That's when we start the school year, in the summer, not in August. And we'll tell you more about that. Next slide.
Thank you, Mariana. That's a perfect segue. So summer to us is not that a la carte menu item, right? That districts get to choose and we get to figure out, can we, what kind of, do we serve this grade level or so on, or how many programs can we run? We know it is again, the beginning of this journey that we embark in for the 12-month journey of providing our services. So with that being said, we use it as the opportunity for us to market and attract our staff through the initiation of that summer recruitment. We market, as you can see, some of the flyers here, some of the visuals and so on. We market this with the idea that, hey, yes, you are signing up to work for this regular school year, but hey, we have this opportunity for you to also work in the summer and do it in a way that will support you to be successful for the school year, and in getting to know the communities that you're going to serve. So one of our strongest recruitment strategies is and will continue to be the word of mouth, right? Because with that deep culture and that deep rooted community partnerships that we do have in the Bay Area, word of mouth continues to be our strongest strategy. Community outreach, we're always open within the school communities. We don't just advertise within the social medias or the job platforms career platforms that we subscribe to, but we also like to put our flyers around the school. We like to make them accessible through parent squares, parent PTAs, anybody that can help us also put it on their social medias as well. We do participate in job fairs. At BACR, we also have a workforce industry, which has supported us in also going into the communities and creating these opportunities to be at job fairs in the communities that we work in. And the reality is that there's never enough time to get oriented to do the work, right? Because we hit the ground running. But summer is the opportunity for us to really slow down and orient our people. So we feel that is in itself a recruitment strategy that we advertise and say, this is, and we'll go into that in a little, this is what it's going to look like for you to be ready and to be, you feel successful in the work that we're going to do. Next slide.
Let's actually do a quick check-in here with some of these strategies. So as Marisa shared, we'd want to hear from you all. What strategies have you used? What strategies would you like to try? You can take a look at the list we have there and pull from there, or maybe you've tried something different.
And also, if you have a question about any of these.
We'll take about a minute or two here. Think about your response and send it in the chat when you're ready. We have a question here. Can you speak more to high expectations?
Mariana, do you want to touch on that one?
Sure. Yes. So, and we will talk more about that when we're going into professional development, specifically during the summer, but making sure that we are linking this recruitment and looking at who is going to work with us with the right mindset, making sure the mental model of the people that is going to work with us matches the program vision and the quality standards for after school. So we always talk about there's hard skills and soft skills, right? There's some soft skills that are pretty difficult to teach in a short period of time. And there's hard skills that we can, on an onboarding, on a quick training, teach. What is important is that we have people that believe that youth are capable of reaching great things. So the high expectations come from how do you see the world? How do you see these young people that you're going to be working with being capable of achieving? And what do you see yourself capable of achieving? With high expectations also come growth mindset and making sure there's trust and relationship building at the front of what we do. So when people is making mistakes, it's okay. And we're going to have a system of support for them to help them learn from those mistakes. So that's what we mean by high expectations.
Thank you, Mariana. One thing I want to point out is this past summer, we followed a group of about 180 vacancies that we had. And of those 180 vacancies, what we did is that we tried to recruit them for the regular school year. Half of those, we tried to recruit them, 90 of them for the regular school year. And we followed that. We started in April. And we were, trying to fill those slots in April, in May, and June. So what happened come the last week of July, we lost about 30% of those. And so that right there, what were we doing with those folks, right? So that's why summer for us, even though it does stretch our people and we have to be running 2 different programs at the same time, because we're still trying to close out the year, was we gotta give our people summer employment because we can't lose that workforce. We cannot lose that workforce. Next slide. So our retention is focused around our staff-centered model, and we're going to talk about some of these points here. We do offer higher pay during the summer. We make it a point to work with our school districts and let them know this is the opportunity when we do want to be able to not just offer higher pay, but also more hours. And we have been able to successfully do that, and people really appreciate this, which is pretty much full-time work for the majority of our staff in the summertime. The retention strategy here is also that now we're not just offering work for 180 school days or 190 school days. We're offering it year-long opportunities. We do feel that our training is pretty robust during the summer as well, and those offer leadership opportunities. And also what we have done is that we have assistant coordinators or program assistants that we elevate to take on more leadership roles alongside our coordinators in some cases, or in some cases them on their own doing these opportunities. So it's leadership on the ground opportunities, and it's also on the job training opportunities. We also create specialized positions within the summer, and we have also alternated staff within summer sites to be able for them to be able to have that skill set across a couple of sites as well. And Mariana, do you want to talk about the peer feedback opportunity?
Yes, and that's something that we start with the professional development process, but I will talk more about it. But basically having kind of like a peer buddy with your team, and when we are hiring new people or we have more veterans program instructors, we pair them in those programs that were able to have lowered ratios with the newer or less experienced folks. So there is a mentorship component and a system to give peer feedback as a way of having it like kind of a restorative circle. We bring coaches and they have meetings in the morning before we start the program, and can hear from each other. This is what I think it went well. This is what I think it could be done better. And also getting this constant feedback from the youth, right? Because youth voice is so important in program quality. And I wanted to mention, sorry, Marisa, I wanted to mention that, for example, this picture that you're seeing here, it was one of these days that we used to build community during the summer. We can make it themes and we can have so much fun. And that day they all created a safari squad, and tied to Madagascar, the movie from Disney. So there's much more and a huge story behind that picture that helps the staff create those communities and those bondings.
And as an agency, we don't see what we do. We don't see summer as like a la carte, or it's something separate and everything, closes out for the summer. We see everything, the cycle, a 12-month cycle, which is our wellness programs. And that is the uniqueness of how we've been able to retain staff. Our wellness programs go from offering just mental health support, live coaching opportunities. We have on-the-ground coaching and managers providing that. We have mental health days that we provide our staff. We have a lot of partnerships with gyms and other fitness programs. We do yoga, we do there's Zumba now, that opportunities that we offer our staff. So there's a lot of wellness opportunities, wellness fairs that we offer. And throughout the summer, we're embedding that as well, and popping up different opportunities for folks as well. So we know that that is important for them, especially I feel like in summer, the mindset changes a little. It's probably the fact that school day is not going on, because that's always an added layer for our staff, and staff are more inclined to be open to try different things that they haven't been able to in terms of our wellness program, to try that they haven't had time during the school year to try out. So we keep all those opportunities open. Next slide.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit more about professional development. And you have heard several times us saying the school year for us is starting summer. So we take the opportunity to pause, in the sense that there's a week, there's at least 3 days where we don't have students, and we do our own conference. Depending on the region we are in 10 different districts. We kind of like divided into the East Bay in San Francisco Marine areas, and we do summer institutes, and where we bring the entire expanded learning workforce to get professional development and specific topics. And those topics are also informed by their performance reviews, in where they have the opportunity to let us know what are the areas and the skills that they think they need to improve. So we tie that and make it really intentional. Again, program quality standards. What do we want to create in the experience of the summer program? We mentioned in the beginning a summer camp feeling summer program. What is the differentiated training that we have to offer that week, and how do we differentiate training from folks that have been with us for 5 years versus folks that this is their first year working with us, right? So that's very important. So is a period to reset and reground on that, and have that robust opportunity of like a week long of 8 hours a day professional development, where we bring people from the outside, and we also tap in the expertise that is within the agency. I mentioned a little bit about this mentoring parent system and this peer feedback. We're also able to bring additional resources, specifically thanks to the ELOP funding, right? So we have definitely more money. Boost is next week. We go to Boost and we get so many ideas, and then we are able to bring some of those trainers that we meet at Boost and we experience at Boost back to the instructors that, unfortunately, because of budget constraints, we could not bring all to Boost, but we can bring a little bit of Boost to them, right? So those are the additional resources. Also time is a huge resource that we have anticipated an additional in our summertime, because of the 30 days and the 9 hour a day program. So the student centered, of course, rooted in the needs of the community, doing your community assessment needs, making sure that you are very clear on what the parents want, what the students want, what are the interests of the students, and what is the school district, if you're a partner with us, what is the school district looking to gain? We're still working with the school districts that have much the mentality of a summer school in the morning versus enrichment in the afternoon. And we are really thriving in developing these summer camp style programs that is 9 hours of academic enrichment, fun, play, disguised learning. We'll talk more about it in the program design. For our best practices, again, we go with intentionality about what do we want to create for the students and what we want to create for the staff. We take a lot of pride on coming with caring and humble hearts to the services that we provide. And again, making a lot of efforts on incorporating all those 12 quality standards. Of course, nothing is perfect, and we know that there's areas where there's always a continuous improvement, and that's very real and very needed, right? The continuous improvement mindset should always be perfect. Everything can be better. And as the workforce development, the workforce changes and the student needs changes that we're seeing after the pandemic, we have to be really constantly looking at what we need and have to do better. So that's part of our best practices. We offer internships for high school students, and John will talk more about that, and that it fits on the pipeline, and that fits on our recruitment strategy and retention. And we always want to have safety and have fun first, right? So summer, we get really creative. We have programs that offer swimming classes. We have programs that are offering a lot of things that we have to make sure that there's a lot of safety measures in place, but we are also mindful that we want to have fun. So how do we, as our beloved Michael Funk will say, how do we make sure that we're in compliance, but don't have a compliance mindset? Is there anything that folks here would like to ask me, or ideas that you would like to share on the chat about professional development? Maybe we have a quiet group today, but I just wanted to say that as we show up differently in the space, when we're able to share a different perspective, we make the space richer and more generative. So I will welcome everybody to post questions or comments on the chat as needed. Okay, maybe we can move to the next slide then. Okay, so program design. So because we're in different communities, we work with the needs of that community, the goals and desires of the school districts we partner with. So some of our programs will have some intervention pullouts where credentialed teachers would come and have a pre-identified group of students that need specific interventions, and mostly, of course, in reading and math. And then they do a small pullouts, and we're really intentional about working and coordinating all the services with them, so the kids don't feel that there's interest competing between, oh my God, this is the activity that I like the most, and now I have to go and do reading. And making sure that doesn't happen, because that child is not going to have a very positive experience, and we don't want the summer program to feel like the school day. Very, very intentional about the offerings that you're having in your summer program being different from the school day, from the after school even, right? Then we have an A-B model where we still have school districts that are a little bit more traditional, and they have this very academic oriented model in the morning, kind of like a school day. And then we have more enrichment and fun activities in the afternoon. The summer campus style is my favorite, is the one that I enjoy the most visiting, and is the one that I enjoy the most coaching managers designing. It is a lot of work, is a lot of creativity that you have to put in place. We tend to have a 9-hour model where there is 6 rotations. I make an emphasis that our recess are at least 35 minutes long, so kids can have a lot of time for free play. We do weekly explorations, weekly field trips, and those field trips are usually tied to our thematic weeks or whatever STEM or enrichment activities we're offering. Before we're designing the program, we're talking to the kids in the after-school program and learning, what would you like to do in the summer, right? So we have done some very cool things. We have rented complete places and take the kids to jump in trampolines for 3 hours, right? And we bring the parents, and then we tie that with learning music and drumming in front of the Golden Gate Bridge, right? And we are outdoors and we're indoor, and we invite the parents to come, and we do a potluck. So it's a lot of family engagement opportunities as well. We also have a lot of chants and teams and t-shirt design, and then robotics competitions, and you name it. I mean, it could get so crazy sometimes that I have to tell people, hey, let's remember we're also working during the school year. Let's not take so much time in summer planning, because people get really, really excited with these summer camp styles, summer. And you have to, your program design, don't start doing your program design in April. When we finish summer in July, we take a break, we come from the school year. September, we're starting summer design, program design again. Because you need to reflect, you have to debrief what worked, we need to improve. That continuous improvement mindset is there all the time. And what we're going to do different. What time is that we have to change? What happened with transportation? What happened with food? Are the kids liking the food? There's a lot of advocacy that we have to do when we're doing summer, and making sure the students are really enjoying and the experience and making it effective for them. And of course, this is going to have, there's a lot of nuances here, right? Because of what are the resources that you have to work with. And if you start early, you could also tap into the resources in your community and increasing those resources that you're going to be bringing to your programs. And one of my favorite things that we have been doing with ELOP is a great specific program design. So as you know, we have now incorporating serving these very loving young people. 4 years old, 5 years old are in our summer programs, and we're asked to do this for 9 hours. That is super long for them, right? So 2 years ago, when I have the pleasure to have the 9-hour program for TK kids, I say, well, these kids need to take a nap. How are we doing this, right? Like, where do we give them a space? So we locally were able to have a completely separate program for TKK. So we have a program that is for TKK. We have a program that is for first, second. We have another program that is for third, fourth, and we incorporate the 5th graders with the middle schoolers, because there's a leadership component for the 8th grade kids, helping the 5th graders feel comfortable in their middle school and get ready for this not so easy development stage, which is entering the middle school program. And the same we try to replicate for 8th graders going to high school. Another thing we do very specific is for newcomer students. What are the newcomer students need during the school year that we're not able to meet during the school year, but that we have so much time, flexibility, and resources to do during summer? So at BACR, we're really big on a strength-based approach. And we have bring those strength-based approach and a Clifton strength inventory back to the newcomers. And all the 8th graders get trained on their strength. So they're leaving to high school knowing their top 3, because for younger kids, we do the top 3, not the top 5. And you know, you don't speak English well, that's fine. You have all this other power that will help you be successful in high school. So very intentional again, guys, about what are the needs and what do you want to create. We also are big on compassionate system tools. So doing aspirational icebergs and looking at what is that you want to create at the top, and then what are the mental models that need to exist to create that? And what are the artifacts that you need to create that program model that you are envisioning? Any questions or comments? I see some people started to be more participatory in the chat. I love that. So thank you for that. And I wonder if anyone has any questions or another comment for us to hear. Another voices here.
Mariana, there was a question around if the slides, the A+B model, if the A portion had credentialed teachers or our staff, our BACR staff, and it could be either or, but mostly both. We have really advocated to be able to also include our staff when there's credentialed teachers, because that is one of the most amazing opportunities for them to have that on the ground, on the job training around facilitation, what the students are learning. And again, I think that when we do that, staff feel a lot more prepared to be able to do the work.
There's a lot of benefits on that. And there's a lot of benefits with intervention pull-outs. One way that we have also done intervention is bring the credentialed teacher to do math games. And, you know, they are co-creating. The program instructor and the credentialed teacher are co-creating. And that is by itself a training for all the program instructors. Another thing we do in our program design that is very powerful, one of the industries that we have at BACR is behavioral health. So we are able to bring interns and associates therapists during the summer. And we make sure that the after-school coordinators are giving the information to these folks about who needs continuation of mental health services for them to continue therapy during the summer, as well as doing groups, social emotional groups, and supporting the staff with any trauma-informed practices, secondary trauma, or crises that might come, because some of our kids are experiencing a change, right? In the summer program, sometimes it's a change because some of our schools combine several schools in one for their summer program, while other ones are having their summer program at the same school site where we offer after-school program. So how do we create those spaces for kids to feel safe when we're changing the environment for them? And for some of them, it's not easy. So we bring mental health providers to help us with that. Okay, I think we can move to the next slide. And that's John.
All right. Thank you so much, Mariana. Thank you, Marisa, for that. We're going to talk a little bit about this youth workforce, high school to expanded learning pipeline, as we try to feed two birds with one seed, and that is have amazing young people work in our summer programs, get training and development, and support the kind of workforce that we've been seeing a little bit challenging lately, right? In terms of finding committed, passionate, caring adults. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But before that, I want to say, I'm cheesy sometimes. I want to engage. I want to just ask just a clarifying question. For those of you on here, if you could just give a thumbs up, some kind of emoji. How many of you actually support, serve, work with high school students? Just so I know, you know, who we're talking with and get an idea. And if you don't directly have funding to work with high school students, that you have access to high school students. And Dana, is that a question, or is that you're raising your hand like, oh, yes, I do. Cool. Yes, I see Stephanie. Great. Excellent. Thank you. Cool. Anyone else? Yes, thumbs up. Fantastic. Cool. The next thing I want to ask, and I would highly encourage you come off mic and share, or you can put it in the chat. I want you to take a minute right now, and I want you to think about, what do you think high school students, right, specifically rising, juniors, rising seniors, what do they want in the summer? What are they looking for in the summer? Excellent. Thank you, Carla. Driver's education class. Yes. Yes. What else? Anything else? Money, money, money. Yes, Marisa, money. Anything else? Give it another 30 seconds.
I'll speak. I'll speak.
Yes, please.
I think like a lot, especially with the youth I work with, you really don't, it's not a general question. You want to kind of look at the community and exactly what they're engaged in. There's some immigrant communities that have totally different needs and kind of the community that's rooted here, but they all seem to want opportunities for creativity. Some of them are very civic minded. There's a group of kids that love to volunteer. It's just about identifying what they need. It's not about, it's just identifying, asking them. But I think high levels, one of the things in common should be high levels of creativity, of competency, because they're going into adulthood. So if they're not at the level to be able to, like, let's say, compete in the real world as an adult, we need to start to get them there through challenging activities. So just, they need to be challenging. And then I think they need to have some kind of an end to it, like whether it's a skill, a certificate, or a prize or something to that kind of plays to the youth part of their personality. But just make sure that it's going to challenge them, challenging.
Yes. And thank you. Thank you so much for naming that, for calling it. It's all of that, right? And it's that consistent culture of inquiry with our high school students in terms of what their needs are. And the beautiful thing about expanded learning, and I'm trusting all of us here as a result of that, are all of the transferable skills that we get in expanded learning programs. So one of the things that we have been doing for many years and becoming more purposeful and looking at systems and structures to do it more intentionally is this pipeline. Oftentimes our high school students will join a high school or go and attend a high school because of a pathway. And then by 10th grade, they're like, not really interested in that pathway anymore. So what else is available for me? And we know that if a student is interested in civic engagement, if they're interested in photography, the arts, STEM, STEAM, multiple career potential opportunities, that expanded learning can nurture that. So what we started to do was think about our high school students as ways to develop them, because they're already being developed in our programs, and give them the opportunity to continue that growth in expanded learning summer programs. So I'll explain to you a little bit about what we do in the model. And if you have access, it's a great resource. So what we do is we first identify students that may be interested in working summer, because what we do here that students want is they want to be safe, right? They're looking for safety, and that comes emotionally, physically, financially. They're looking for some safety, and to be part of our program helps support that. So we find out what their interests are and if they're looking for summer employment. And if they are, we start as early as February with a recruitment strategy. So we identify students, we have them complete an interest form, we find out what their interests are, and depending on where they are geographically, then we can then support them with being placed at a summer program that has funding, partnered with an adult that will be their mentor, right? So first we find out, are they interested in coaching soccer, basketball? Are they interested in leading community builders, etc.? And then once we've identified that, we begin our training model. Recently, we just had 19 students from Oakland being trained by Positive Coaching Alliance with a trainer named Rosalinda. Some of you may know Rosalinda, who trained them on coaching with empathy. So whether you're coaching sports or working with young people, we have 19 students that just got trained, right? We have 14 students in Antioch and 16 students in West Contra Costa that will go through the same training. 3 days ago, they each got their top 5 strengths. So they're embarking on that now as well, right? Then we're going to do some facilitation training with them, restorative practices with them, and then in Oakland specifically, we have Ready Week, and they'll be trained on a curriculum called Reading Relevance, right? Which is a literacy curriculum that they'll be trained in. And then they'll be trained by Mentor California with Marcus Struthers, if you're familiar with Mentor California. So the students will be trained, right, on how to work with the younger students, right? The first, second, third, fourth, fifth graders. And then the adults who they'll be partnered with will be trained on how to work with our high school students, right? And then they'll be trained together, this intentional collaborative effort, right? The cool thing is we have the recruitment sites. Those are our high schools. Hosting sites are elementary sites that have summer funding and are extremely committed to supporting the growth and development of our high school students in the program, right? And offering the opportunity not just separating snacks, right? Going and being the runner, but the opportunity to lead mindfulness, engaging practices, icebreakers, community builders in partnership with that caring adult. I'm going to stop right there because I see some stuff happening in the chat. Yes, Rosalinda is a rock star. Electives are not offered in the school day. Got that. Okay. Great. Okay. So with that being said, I'm going to go to the next slide really quick because there's a portion here that's really important. When we think about the high school students that we are recruiting and working with and training and developing, we want to give them opportunities. So we have this February identifying the timeline, identifying who they are. March, we begin to communicate with families, some of the expectations. Then April and May, we have the training. We then find out geographically what works for them. Where are they going to be in the summer? Where do they live? What's going to be a site that may be convenient for them to get to? And we provide transportation for them in a form of a Clipper card, or if they can get to their site, so they'll be able to go there. So we also support them once they get their training with them becoming employees. So we are able to hire them using the summer funds at the elementary school site. Once they're hired, and we ask them as part of their career readiness, they'll need a resume, and we support them with that. A letter of recommendation, so we support them with that. We have in some of our districts now, they have to be live scanned, even though they're high school students. We support them with that whole process. We support them with the curriculum that they'll get, and they'll get to practice with one another. We also support them with obtaining their workers permits, right? So we have this, it's kind of small, but this whole this kind of graph that'll take you through step by step of what the high school student needs to do, what they need to obtain in order to develop that. Here's a story. We have a young woman at a high school in Oakland. She graduated in December. She did this, right? The summer program. Then she came back. She started, she was at the school. After school, she would travel to the local elementary school, continued working. She graduated in December, right? She was at an alternative high school. She graduated in December, was taking time off before she went to college locally, and was looking for work. It was awesome because at that moment, we were able to support her with getting her instructional aid exam. She was already acclimated to the school site, and we were able to hire her and now in ratio and continue the mentorship opportunity for her with the person who was already at that site. So again, some of you may be doing this already, but we wanted to share that. So when I calculate how many students intentionally we'll be supporting, not only for our summer programs, but also for the workforce in general and for our amazing partners who we collaborate with, our teaching artists. We have organizations that do therapeutic beat making that are looking for teaching artists, right? We have sports organizations who are looking for coaches that are also struggling finding staff. Now we have 49 passionate, committed young people, right, who are interested in these professions potentially, or as a transition with the transferable skills, who we can then place in the programs. So that's some of what we're doing right now with our intentional high school to expand and learning. The other cool part is as we think about, kind of formalizing these apprenticeship models across the state of California, is partnering now with our junior colleges, right? Early childhood curriculum, right? And courses that they can take. And the really great thing is we have school districts that are also willing to support if a student is interested and is in expanded learning, graduates, and wants to go to school and become a teacher certificated, right? And go into the classroom. We have districts that will support that trajectory for them, because we know that some school districts are struggling finding teachers as well. So again, we feed two birds with one seed. We think about that, and we're doing something about it. So I'll stop right there. Any questions, curiosities, anything that you're doing that you want to share that we can all learn, because this is a space of inclusiveness and learning?
I'll also add, John, that if anyone wants to send me a direct message with their question, if you're a little shy, there's no problem. You can send that to me and I'll read it out to the group.
I want to just follow up on something you were talking about, John. This is why it's so important as agencies that we do build this community of trust and care within the expanded learning practitioners, is that when we do make a dedication and a commitment to place a high school youth at any site, whether it's summer or regular year, our what we call our partner in our host site, they need to have really great communication and relationship to really to share the stories and to be able to talk about how to best support the youth. Because what we find is that when our students are coming from an expanded learning program in a high school program, and again, they see our adults as mentors, and they know their stories, they know their journey in that high school. There's a lot that doesn't, them coming into a new community, a new elementary school, where now they're a worker, instructor. A lot of times they don't open up and we don't know their story. And sometimes some of the things that happen, it shows up as, well, are they just not prepared? Do they not care? Are they really ready for this work? But it's not about that. It's about that we do need to have like those coaching collaborations and communications amongst our colleagues so they can best support that young worker.
Yeah. And thank you, Marisa, for naming that. And, this year, actually, what we're implementing is what some would call like a case manager, if you will, but it is a mentor for all of the high school students to check-ins. How is it going, right? So there's this consistent culture of looking at like what's working, what's not working, questions and curiosities for the professional development growth overall of that particular high school student, so they're well taken care of. Because it is a responsibility to make sure they have a meaningful experience.
And John, we pay them.
Oh yeah.
It is a paid internship, so
Yeah.
just wanted to name that too. I mean,
Absolutely.
and when they're working 5 hours a day, 6 hours a day, it's add up in 6 weeks. It's great money for a high school kid.
Yep, absolutely.
One other thing, we have a district that one of their number one priorities for the ELLP funding is to provide the TK and the K expansion classes, which we were not providing with just ACEs, with the not the kinder at all as well. And so what we are doing, we're piloting with Contra Costa College, we're piloting to be able to provide that apprenticeship programming in our summer programs. With Antioch High is one of their sites. So we're excited to see that, because that has been there's been a lot of dedication for training our TK and kinder instructors, and it's been a lot of training. It's been a lot of advocating for resources at the district level. So we're excited to see the preparedness that Contra Costa can then contribute to that as well. I think we can go to the next slide.
Okay, so we want you guys to have a chance to maybe go into breakout rooms and reflect on everything that we have shared today. And we're offering you some guiding questions that are specifically to building the capacity for your summer programs, to put in practice what you learn, to build community, because it's very important when we're learning something new or when we have a vision that we have community to implement that vision, to practice what we learn, right? And research is important to know what is the continuous improvement that we need to have in place, to know what are the needs, to have intentionality in the program design. So these 4 domains, we hope that will help you give more sense to all the information you have heard and all the information you bring with, because you already come with some information from the expertise that you also have, the knowledge and experiences that you also have, right? So for capacity building for summer programs, we're asking what data points inform your program design? And what recruitment strategies specifically for the summer program do you have? For practice, how would you apply what you learned today? Whatever was new for you, or whatever you're still thinking like, oh, I wonder, right? I have a wonder about this. How would you practice or get to an answer to that? What are you seeking to accomplish for your summer program? What is that vision that you want to create? What do you want to create for your summer program, for your students, for your staff, for your community, right? For community building, who are your partners? Who is the partner that will ensure you that you have a staff recruitment and retention, or that you can create a youth pipeline within your programs? And who else will likely be a key player to ensure that your summer program is successful, to ensure that that vision that you have for your summer program can be realized? And for research, what do you know, what are the staffing trends in the expanded learning field, and specifically in the communities that you work with? Do you know what are the best areas for you to recruit staff? Do you know how much is what is a competitive pay rate in that area? Do you know what are the trends? What are the colleges that could partner with you? Do you know what are the times that most college students are coming from college vacation? So you know when you could perhaps offer your summer professional development, start earlier perhaps for those kids returning from college. Do you know how many of your staff is continuing during the school year, and how you're prioritizing offering summer employment for those folks that will decide perhaps to leave your organization if they don't have a full-time or some continuation of summer employment? And what do your staff need from the organization? What are the capacities? What are the competencies that your staff is bringing with? What are the needs in terms of, like, we take a lot of pride saying that we are serving our students from people from the community. Do you know what does that mean? Do you know what they're carrying with them in their shoulders? What are the stressors that they're coming from? Are they facing poverty? Are they being homeless? Do they have housing security? Do they have enough food? Do they have a family ill that they need to take care of? So what is the support that they need from their organization to be at their best at their job place? Because that's being humans, right? We're all humans and life is real for all of us. So how do you make your program human-centered? So these are 8 questions with 4 different domains, and we are not expecting that you cover it all. We are offering them, it's an invitation for you to choose what resonates the most, to have a time to reflect and put in practice. And if you have any questions before, Destiny, can we create some breakout rooms?
Yes, we're going to have a few breakout rooms. We'll have about four minutes to share in those groups. Remember, we'll have an opportunity to ask some additional questions a little later if you need more time in those conversations. So we're going to go ahead and open those rooms. I've added some questions to the chat to guide your conversation. And join when you're ready. Welcome back, folks. Thanks for participating in the breakout rooms.
Well, we're back. Well, I hope that was helpful, and I would love to hear from some voices about what questions did you choose to reflect on, and what came out of those reflections or those conversations. You know, maybe you ended talking about your summer vacation plans, and that's fine too.
Feel free to share your thoughts in the chat or unmute.
I can share. So in my breakout group, I talked about how something that I would like support on or hear other people's insights would be on like if they have any additional information or know of anything to support my summer program, which is a summer bridge for high school students, for students in middle school who are gonna go to high school, in particular for college and career. If anybody has any type of insight on that, I would appreciate it. One of the people in there did have like a curriculum that they'd share with me, but any ideas is appreciated.
Michelle, clarifying question. So you're hosting a summer bridge program for rising freshmen, correct?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And how long is your summer bridge program?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Okay. And the high school that they're going to be attending, students selected that school have been selected for that school because of a specific pathway. Is it a pathway school?
No, it's just like so we work at a few middle schools, and we're recruiting the students that are going into that particular high school, but we're also recruiting in surrounding feeder schools that are middle schools. So it's not a particular pathway, just to help them with that transition.
Okay, got it, got it. Okay, so I'll share my information, and I may have some resources for you as well around, because we do a lot of summer bridge programs as well at the high school, and it's all around acclimating to the high school culture, a lot of activities, and especially as it relates to expanded learning. If you have an expanded learning program at that high school, really great. And then recruiting high school students to support in being mentors for those rising freshmen as well. So I'll share my information if you want more.
Yeah, I would really appreciate that. Thank you, John.
You're welcome. Any other comments? Anything else that came up for folks?
It sounds like there was someone in Michelle's group that had a resource as well. So if you're open to sharing what that resource is, if it'd be helpful for other folks to consider something similar, feel free to unmute and share. We can also move on to the next slide if we're ready for the continued Q&A.
Yeah, I was the one who told her that I will share a curriculum with her, and I'm trying, as we're here, it was trying to find it, but it's sometime on my Google Drive. It's somewhere in my Google Drive, sorry. So I think it will be best, Michelle, if you send us your email, and then John and I can share with you. I know, well, John Pussy's, just send out your email and we can get back to you.
Okay, I do have a question here. We had some folks mention shifts in folks' need for information, and so an increased use of job fairs or in-person opportunities for recruitment and social media. So I'm curious, for our BACR presenters, looking ahead, what trends or changes do you anticipate in the expanded learning field? And how can folks adapt their recruitment, retention, and professional development strategies? One of these examples could be social media and in-person opportunities being more popular.
We do have, we have done job fairs, in virtual job fairs, virtual spaces. Those have not been super successful. We do use social media platforms to create campaigns and inform about those job fairs. But I think that the most successful ones are when we partner with a community, like a library or a community center, and we have the job fairs there. And we also communicate with like parents and program participants, like, hey, we're hiring, we have volunteers, and everybody helping us, like the word of mouth, which continues to be the biggest or the most successful way to hire and recruit folks. Going to colleges, of course, and community colleges. But the biggest trend, I will say, is the rapid an evolving need of needing more staff because of the growth with ELOP. And with that, really meeting the moment of how do we ensure that when we are onboarding these people, we are supporting and building their capacities. So for that, we have created a new way of doing the onboarding that have some training basic training pieces there, and then offering some office hours. So it's like the person gets hired after, we're doing kind of like a match of like, what are these interests? Is this a good fit for the organization for we want to create in the program? What are the passions of this person that we are hiring, and how can this person translate these passions to teaching the youth that we have in the program? And also then here is some theory of like youth development, right? And this is so theory about trauma-informed practice, and this all the boring things we have to do about like mandated reported, and the things that we have to do, plus the things that we think are important for this person. And then pair this person with a experienced program instructor so they can have some shadowing and on-the-job training, at the same time that we have some follow-up and accountability to check for understanding on what did you understand from this training, and now that you're being on the ground, what other support, what other questions do you have, and what other needs are there that we need to fulfill. So that's kind of like in a nutshell how we're doing it. Is being a work in progress, and we continue to define it as we go based on what we're seeing the workforce is entering with, what skills is the workforce entering with us, and looking also at what is the best way to communicate with the workforce. Is it text message? Is it video? Is we have to call them, because emails apparently are not the best way. So yeah, it's kind of like a little bit of that. And what are the professional pathways the workforce is looking into having? Why are they entering this workforce? It's because they are passionate about social justice and they're seeing this as a way of providing equity in education. Is this because they just need a job and the hours work for them? It is because they're interested in education, psychology. What is it? And with that, making sure that we're also clear about what are the benefits of working in expanded learning programs. What are the skills that you're going to gain where you're working in expanded learning? And I don't know if Marisa and John, would you like to add anything else?
Yeah, I think another in the cities where we have the opportunity, especially a city like Oakland, where we have opportunities to have quite a bit of partners that have their own community centers, because we're school based. We have been able to partner with them and do job fairs at the community centers, the youth community centers, or the community centers that where we partner with other partners and do job fairs. I think those have been successful for us, just because we usually find that there's a lot of youth hanging out. Maybe they're not participating in the classes or whatever's going on inside, but they're definitely hanging out outside, which is usually where we have the fairs.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. I think it's important to really understand where we can best meet folks where they're at. So thanks for providing those concrete examples. All right, if we're ready to move on to the next slide, we have a quick check-in. One of our BACR folks walk us through this prompt.
Okay, and I think we're in terms of time, do we have this for do we want people to chat, or do we have time for people to share? We'd like to just hear, just as our optimistic closure, just hear from you all, because of our summer program, Children and Youth Will. So think big, think, what is that feeling and that takeaway you want to have because of our summer programs? And I mean hours in our community of expanded learning. Welcome to come off to share, or just go ahead and chat, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Especially if you're in the room with multiple people. I know some of you are in a room with 6 or 7 people. Because of our summer program, Children, Youth Will.
I think one unique aspect to consider here is how summer learning programs can also help meet some basic needs. Like sometimes it can provide a meal for someone during the day when they weren't going to be guaranteed one. So We could think really big, or we could also consider some of those basic needs that are met through quality programs.
Absolutely, that part. Yes.
We have some responses coming in here. Hector, thanks for sharing. Building relationships that go beyond the classroom. Absolutely. Building community and trust with folks. Be safe and have lots of fun. Yep, we love to hear fun. We did a word cloud in a previous session around what comes to mind when you consider summer learning, and fun was our number one word. Our number one or number two, that definitely comes to mind for folks. Learn a new skill, absolutely. Folks were sharing some really fun ideas earlier with what youth want to learn. There was like graphic design, cooking, driving. I think of my little brother, and he was super excited to start driving. It's like you feel independent and you're growing up. All right, so keep those coming in the chat. We're going to move on to close our session. All right. So thank you all for attending. This was our fourth session of this year's summer game plan series and our final session. By participating in this session, you will receive a follow-up email. We heard from you all, and we definitely take it seriously when you're asking for specific resources, whether it's through the eval or in the chat and unmuting. And we're really mindful of that follow-up email, including those resources that you were looking for. So keep an eye out for that. It'll be coming soon. It will include the slide deck, the resources that have been mentioned, and also the recording. I'd like to thank our awesome speakers, John, Mariana, and Marisa from BACR. Y'all were awesome. Thank you for creating this space and sharing best practices around recruitment and retention. Tamara, thank you for helping with the logistics. You've done a fabulous job with screen sharing. Really appreciate you being here supporting this effort. When you leave this meeting, you will receive a tab that opens up for the survey. So please complete that. We take a look at what you're sharing with us. It helps us, one, make adjustments for future sessions and also really tailor those follow-up emails to what you're looking for to continue learning. And we want to spotlight some additional resources and events from our partners. So the first one is CalSAC's After School Outside 5K. This goes beyond running to create a space and opportunity for community to display the importance of out-of-school time. This includes summer learning programs. And I think it's a really cool approach where it's going to be statewide with multiple locations with one single effort in mind. So we'll be including a link to that in the chat to learn a little more shortly. CalSAC also offers virtual trainings, and they have 25 different topics they cover for tailored training programs for your staff and different rates depending on the size of your staff. We want to highlight After School Today by the National After School Association. It's a digital magazine you can flip through. Their spring 2024 edition celebrates young professionals in the expanded learning sector. We want to highlight page 24. This has an article about cultivating and sustaining positive team culture in out-of-school time field. And lastly, the Center for Policy, Research, and Evaluation at New York University is going to share 4 strategies in this article around equity and having equitable summer learning programs. So take a look at that. This concludes our session for today. I'm really grateful you attended today. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you to our logistical support. We'll stick around for a few minutes if you have additional questions. Thanks for attending.